There's a narrow stretch of water, barely 50 kilometers wide at its tightest point, through which nearly a fifth of the world's oil passes every single day. And right now, that stretch, the Strait of Hormuz, is turning into the most dangerous flashpoint in this war. Over the past few days, the language coming out of Iran has changed. What started as warnings has now become very specific threats. Iran has said that if its southern coast, islands, or key oil facilities are attacked, it could mine not just the Strait of Hormuz, but potentially the entire Persian Gulf. We're talking about floating sea mines deployed from the coast, turning one of the busiest energy routes in the world into a high-risk zone. And Iran isn't just threatening disruption, it's signaling control. Officials have indicated that ships from non-belligerent countries may still pass, but only after coordinating with Iranian authorities. Which raises a bigger question. Is this about blocking Hormuz or controlling it? Because to understand why this matters, you have to understand scale. The Strait of Hormuz is not just another shipping route. It carries roughly 20% of the world's oil supply. A huge portion of global LNG flows also move through this region. So even the threat of disruption here doesn't stay local. It ripples across the global economy, into fuel prices, into inflation, into supply chains. And that's exactly why Hormuz has always been treated differently. Even during conflicts, countries have been extremely cautious about escalating here. Because once this route is affected, no one really controls the fallout. But what Iran is doing right now suggests something deeper. This is not just about retaliation, it's about leverage. Iran knows it cannot match the United States or Israel in a conventional war. But it doesn't need to, because Hormuz gives it something far more powerful: the ability to disrupt the system itself. Sea mines, for example, are relatively cheap, but extremely effective. During the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s, even a limited number of mines created massive challenges for global shipping. It took large-scale international effort to clear them. Now imagine that at scale. Iran doesn't need to shut Hormuz completely. Even uncertainty is enough. Higher insurance costs, rerouted ships, delayed cargo, all of it adds pressure globally. At the same time, the United States is also shifting its posture. There are reports that Washington is considering stronger actions around Iran's key oil infrastructure, including Kharg Island, which is central to Iran's exports. There's also a visible push to frame this as a global issue, to bring in allies, to build pressure not just militarily, but diplomatically. So what you're seeing now is not just a regional standoff. It's a contest over who gets to control one of the most critical arteries of the global economy. And this is where things get even more interesting. Because if ships are required to coordinate with Iran, if access becomes conditional, if passage comes with informal costs or restrictions, then this stops being just a military threat. It starts looking like the beginning of a new status quo, where Iran doesn't just disrupt the route, but influences how it operates. And that changes the equation completely, because this is no longer about closing Hormuz. It's about controlling it, and forcing the rest of the world to respond to that control. Which is why this moment matters. Because if the Strait of Hormuz becomes a space of constant tension, negotiation, and control, then this war is no longer confined to the Middle East. It becomes embedded in the global economy itself. And once that happens, the question is no longer who is winning the war. The question becomes, who controls the system the world depends on?